So Dexter and them came back with yet another series, this time called Dexter the Original Sin. This is obviously a prequel to the original series. As a fan, I had to come and check it out to see what was going on. And before I start talking, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that this review is gonna have hella spoilers in it, so if you ain't ready, click out of it right now. So now that the spoiler crew is gone, let's go ahead and hop right into this. So at the very beginning of the episode, you hear him doing a voiceover talking about, his life and being shot and all this other kind of stuff. And he's getting transported to the hospital. I literally thought he was dead from the previous season. But for some reason, y'all done turned this man into Jason. He ain't never dying. So he's at the hospital. He almost dies on the table. They bring him back to life. And he was like, my life flashed before my eyes. And that's when we start taking that trip down memory lane. He literally took it all the way back to birth. Side note, this baby is adorable. But anyway, so then we head into the credits and they get a bit nostalgic by recreating the opening credits from the original series, just with the 3 new actors in it. And that actually pumped me up for the show. So we start off with Dexter in class at the U. He's a medical student. He's over here cutting open a cadaver. He's very good at it, very surgical, if you will. His classmates still already know that he's weird though. So after his first incision on the cadaver, he paused for a second and his professor was like, hey, what's going on? You okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm good. But really inside, he was like, man, I don't see no blood. What's going on? So he kept it moving because he didn't want to look weirder than he already did. And he finished the job. The professor already loved it, said you did a great job. After the class, he was talking to him. He was like, Professor, I didn't feel anything after I did all this. After all this practice and studying and getting ready for this, it just didn't work for me. And the professor was like, that's what makes you special. So at dinner that night, Harry and Dexter were talking and Harry was like, hey, how did that exam go today? And Dexter was like, it went great. I passed with flying colors as usual. The problem is I didn't feel anything. I wasn't satisfying the needs that I needed to satisfy. And he said, we need to figure something else out because this is really not working for me. My urges are growing stronger. I'm not finding any way to satiate that. We need to rework the plan. And Harry was like, nah, we gonna stay the course for right now. Just finish med school. We'll figure it out. Then the very next day, Dexter wanders himself over to the job fair at his school. And then he stumbles on a tent that's so near and dear to his heart. He sees all these pictures of blood splatter evidence. It's the Miami PD tent. And this is his first time running into Masuka. And Masuka don't care nothing about Dexter in this moment. In pure Masuka fashion, this man is like,
I'm looking for the hoe. Yeah.
But Dexter's in love. He's already over here trying to solve crimes on the pictures. So later that night, they were at dinner, and Deb was like, I want to go to this frat party tonight. And Harry was like, you want to go to a college party? Girl, you don't even go there. And then she said, essentially, I'm going to go already, so you might as well cut the formalities and just let me do it so we don't have to go through this back and forth. And Harry was like, I'm cool with that. The only stipulation is you got to take your brother. It was funny because before they went to the party, Deb walked in on Dexter and it looked like he was looking at a nudie mag. He had a Penthouse magazine that he had like all the serial killers tucked inside of it. It was really funny because she was like, oh, he about to choke the chicken. When really he was definitely not thinking about choking no chicken. She was like, let's go. We gonna see some real girls at the party. And boy, was she glad she brought him because when she got up in that house, she was trying to act too cool, smoking all the blunts. She was drinking. She was having fun with the little frat boys. She got a little bit too drunk and then got almost taken advantage of. So the dude took her up to the room, had the door locked and everything. Meanwhile, Dexter down here looking all out of place at the party. He's just observing all this foolishness that the other students are participating in. And then he gets up and almost gets mauled by this girl. Then Deb's friend come downstairs. See, this the kind of friend you need because she came down and got your brother. She's like, I tried to stop him. He was like, where they at? Ran upstairs, bust the door open on the first try. That's how you know he look crazy because they be having a little extra strength. He grabbed that man up off of his sister, threw that boy down the steps, got up and continued the fight. Now, at first, the frat boy was actually holding his own, but then Dexter did one of them little trip moves and knocked him to the floor, and he proceeded to lay hands on him like he was trying to bless that man. He kept hitting him so much that he knocked some blood out his nose or whatever, and that did something special to him. And then he saw a knife just sitting over there on the table. He was getting ready to snatch that thing up and go to work on this man. And I'm so glad that Deb intervened and tackled this man up off of that boy. They got put out the frat party, but had he stabbed that man, that would have been the end of the season. I wouldn't want to watch after that. He would have been locked up. Dex got some brownie points that night because Deb recognized that he gonna protect her at all costs. And her friend was like, hey, I used to make fun of this man for watching wrestling so much, but that was kind of hot what you just did. So the next day they go hunting because Harry out here trying to do his best to stave off all those urges that Dexter has. And Dexter's like, Pops, man, listen, these animals ain't cutting it either. I need a little bit more. He keeps trying to tell him I need to level up. He's trying to get to the human level. And Harry's like, no, Dexter, because when you go kill somebody for real, that's a different ball game. You can't unring that bell. And Dexter was like, I almost did it last night at the party because the dude was trying to push up on Deb and take advantage of her. I didn't like it like that. I almost had to put in some work. And the conversation almost killed Harry because he done passed out in the woods. So they had to rush to the hospital, didn't even get to finish what they were talking about. And then they found out that the man done had a heart attack. And then the doctor that was in charge, she was like, hey, we're going to have to keep you here. We're going to run some tests, make sure you're good. Make sure everything is right, but you also gonna have to stop smoking because that's not helping your situation. So they had to leave Harry at the hospital because he needs all that assistance. And then it's just Deb and Dex at the house. And Deb is distraught per usual. And Dex don't really know how to show emotion like that, so she kind of there by herself. And so they're going back and forth to the hospital to check on Harry, and the nurse that's actually taking care of Harry is taking care of other patients as well. So she's in the other room next to him where someone just passed, and she's hugging the bereaved, and she smirks behind the woman's back. But she didn't know that Dex was watching her like a hawk until she walked out of the room, and then she recognized that he was looking at her, and she kind of did a double take, and she was like, oh, what is he looking at me for? And she didn't know he saw her smiling behind that woman's back. So now she got Dex wheels turning, and he was like, hold up, is she part of the family? Are we the same? And so then he started going to do recon. He was following her around. He found her trophy book, and when he found that trophy book, it was over. He was full recon mode then. He went in there and grabbed the needle out the box and took it to the school to test it. Found out the nurse had been keeping his dad sick by giving him a whole bunch of potassium nitrate, which is negligible if you do it over one day. But if you do it over the multiple days, that's where it gets deadly. And that's when Dexter was like, oh, she trying to kill my daddy. And so he went to tell Harry before she gave him another shot. And when Dexter stopped her from giving him that shot, Harry and Dexter saw within her eyes what she actually was. And she was pissed. And when she left, Dexter told him that she was trying to kill him, pumping him full of that potassium nitrate. And Harry said, don't let her do it. And that was all the permission Dexter needed. That little smirk said it all. So Dex went to work on his kill room. If you're familiar with the original series, then you know that his first kill was actually the nurse that was trying to kill his dad. And this is what the original kill room looked like in the first season. They even got the nurse to kind of look alike. So he completes this messy kill, and he gets that release that he's been looking for this whole time. So he wraps her body in plastic, takes her down to Alligator Alley, and feeds her to a hungry group of gators. And of course he had to take a souvenir to commemorate this moment. But it'll prove to be a bad decision in years to come. So Dex is feeling himself after this. And he was like, oh yeah, I didn't even get caught. Next thing you know, he pull up, it's a whole bunch of cops at his house. So that win almost felt like a defeat at that time. That was until he found out that they were just there to bring food to support him and Deb while their dad was in the hospital. And he runs into Masuka yet again. Except this time, Masuka lets him know that he was actually paying attention to him at the career fair. Because they offer Dexter an internship. Partially because he was highly recommended by one of his professors, and the fact that Masuka recognized how quickly he could decipher the differences between crime scenes. And while Harry's still on the mend, Dexter ends up graduating from college, and Deb still shows up to support him, even though she's still kind of mad at him because he didn't show up to her volleyball game while he was out there in them streets trying to kill the nurse. So now that Nurse Kevorkian is out of the way, Harry feels all the way better, and he's able to come home. So when they get home, Harry and Dexter have this conversation in his room, and he says, what did you do? How did you dispose of the body? What all happened? How did you feel? Dexter told him all the things, that he fed her to the alligators. She won't be found, no trace, won't get caught. And then he said, how did you feel? And he said, it felt right. And when Dex leaves the room, Harry just starts crying because he knows he opened Pandora's box. And Dexter says, Harry don't really love change like that. And then the next scene, you see him on the elevator with Harry. They're going into the Miami PD office. Dexter accepted the internship role, so now he's working with Masuka. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. I enjoyed the first episode. It sets a good tone for the season. I think it was casted very well. The main characters, at least, like Deb, perfect. She cussed like she cussed. She kind of sounds like the old Deb. And then you got Masuka. He does that laugh like perfectly. I was kind of torn on if I wanted him to do exactly what Masuka did in the past or if I wanted him to go his own route. But then I was like, I'm kind of messing with it right now. So I'm sticking with that. Angel didn't even have to say anything. I recognize his look because it's so iconic to the show. And of course, young Dexter is just very much so on point. Now, I'm only missing one very specific character from the show, and I would love it if I saw him.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Gotta have some dokes in my life. So what did y'all think of the episode? Did I miss anything? Don't forget to hit the like button, let me know your thoughts below, and subscribe.